up, Pop and T fam? It's your host, Pop and T. Back with the same mug, or a different mug for y'all, actually. Here recording AFC South RSD episode today with the guy, Pop. Pop, what's the T for today?
The T for today, there's not a lot going on around the NFL right now, but I think the NFL just approved that teams can now have a third helmet, which means we might be getting some dope alternate helmets this next season. I don't know if the Ravens are finally going to pull the trigger on those, but I would love some alternate helmets. But I think it would just add a nice little aesthetic to have a third helmet for each team. So I'm excited to see what some of these teams add.
It's one of those rules that doesn't excite me because I know the Ravens aren't going to do anything.
I know. We're so old fashioned.
And it's crazy that we're one of the youngest teams in the NFL, and I don't know, we're just not very modern, but whatever, bro. It works for them. We win games. All black is enough, so I can't complain too much.
No doubt. What color would you want if you could add an alternate helmet?
I kind of want some chrome purple helmets. Kind of that red Louisville chrome, but just purple.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would look sick.
Definitely.
What about you?
I would love that. Maybe some gold.
Okay.
Like some Notre Dame type gold.
Just not the mustard yellow the pants.
No. Some actual gold.
Yeah.
But I doubt we'll get it anyway, so.
No.
But maybe.
Yeah, I'm not keeping faith.
Well, let's get right into this AFC South breakdown for players that we liked, that they re-signed, signed, and who we think they should draft. So let's start out with the Houston Texans, the winner of this division last year, on one of the craziest rebuilds I've ever seen.
So quick.
The fact that they went from the second overall pick last year to making it to the divisional round is just insane to me.
And they'll be back for sure.
No doubt. They keep adding. Yeah. But I'm going to talk about my favorite re-signing. They had a lot of pretty decent re-signings, but I liked them keeping around Dalton Schultz. I would say he's a top 10 tight end in the league. Closer to 10 than 1, but I like keeping weapons around Stroud. Obviously, they can afford to keep him around. It's a relatively cheap deal at 3 years, $36 million. I think the high-end tight ends are getting, 18?
Yeah.
Around there. So it's not super expensive for Dalton Schultz. He finished last year with 635 yards and 5 touchdowns. So yeah, just a fourth target for CJ to have and to attack the middle of the field with.
Yeah. I'm not mad at it. I think that probably is their best re-sign. I don't think he'll have as big of a role this year with the addition of Diggs. His role will definitely diminish. But he brings a lot to that offense for sure. For my signing, honestly, I wanted to go Stephon Diggs, but I completely forgot about Danielle Hunter. So we're going Hunter for this. When you add a guy coming off a 16.5 sack season to your defense, with the reigning, defensive rookie of the year on the other side, and Will Anderson Jr., I don't think you can beat that. He's going to elevate Anderson's game for sure, and he's going to be a presence himself. He's a very good pass rusher. It's definitely one of the premier guys in the league, and is going to make an immediate impact on that defense.
That might have been my favorite signing of the entire offseason. The way that D'Amico is going to be able to scheme those guys up, it's going to be disgusting. I would expect both of them to go over double digits next year.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
And like we always say, having pass rush, especially in the AFC, is the only way you're going to be able to beat the top tier quarterbacks, and the Texans have addressed that in a big way with Danielle Hunter.
Definitely.
But for their draft, they are sitting at 42 after their trade with the Minnesota Vikings. They picked up a lot of draft capital to throw that first round pick at them. But I got them taking Kingsley Suamataia out of BYU, a developmental tackle, probably the first tackle outside of that group of first rounders. He's definitely developmental. He's very inconsistent in his tape, but you can see the upside with him.
Mm-hmm.
He's 6'5", 325. Was a great player at BYU. He's not 100% ready yet, and I think you can have him sit behind Titus Howard, who's been meh, and slowly work him into the rotation. I wouldn't be super surprised if they drafted him and he was better than Titus Howard pretty quickly, just because Titus has never been super great. So I think just reloading that tackle room and trying to get a starter that's going to last you all of CJ's rookie deal is a good way to go.
Yeah,
especially with Tunsil getting older too.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I can't knock that with Tunsil aging. Second team all conference last season for BYU. He's just a little, like you said, a little inconsistent. There's not too much that really jumps off the film at me. He has a thick frame. He's patient with his punch timing, but he doesn't always hit his targets. So that his hands are swiped a lot. He does have good lateral quickness and outside zone. So he's versatile. He's probably one of those tackles that you could put at guard. Honestly, in the NFL, I don't think that would be a bad route for him because he's kind of heavy-footed. And that can be a danger out there at tackle, especially with redirecting, playing those elite edge rushers, playing Josh Allen twice a year. So honestly, I wouldn't mind him at guard. I think he has the frame to do it, being 6'5", 326. So I think that would just be a nice depth piece for them that will eventually play, down the road.
Yeah, I'm never opposed to adding pieces up front, even though you have a roster or have a starting five already.
Yeah, especially when your roster is as good as the Texans is. Like, you can afford to use a second-round pick on a depth guy. Like, you'll be all right.
For sure.
So going on to the Jaguars, my retain for this team was Josh Allen. The one and only, 17.5 sacks in 2023, 89.5 PFF grade. As I was writing this down, I was kind of laughing to myself because, like, what's the word I'm looking for?
You were ragging on the Brian Burns deal?
Yeah. Ragging wasn't a word I wanted to use, trying to find a little nicer word for it. But yeah, I got on the Giants pretty bad about giving Brian Burns the same contract as Josh Allen. But like in Jacksonville, there's not too much good going on over there, in my opinion. Trevor Lawrence hasn't been the guy you wanted to. The rest of the team is kind of meh. So Josh Allen is like the true star piece on this team, and you just can't let him out the door. Especially when he brings what he does to your defense, because he's one of those edge rushers that can drop back and be a Sam Will linebacker in a 4-3. So just because his versatility and his pass rush ability, I love that re-signing for Jacksonville.
I do too. I think he's like in that second tier of pass rushers. So if you have Nick, Micah, Miles, TJ, and
I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that is it.
Nick, Miles.
He's like
Nick, Miles, Parsons, Watt. I think that's the four.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's it.
I think he's in that second tier with like Aiden Hutchinson.
Oh, we
Daniel
forgot about
Hunter.
Crosby. That's what we forgot.
Yeah,
Crosby is
I
in
would
that
say
tier
Crosby's one. So I think he's in that second tier, but as these players are getting paid, I don't hate it, and you got to keep that guy around. He's a guy that's gotten better every single year. He's a fantastic athlete, and he's finally starting to become that player that people thought he was going to be when they drafted him out of Kentucky.
Yeah.
So I'm happy for him. He's one of my favorite pass rushers in the league, and I think the Jaguars fans are all very happy with that.
Gotta be.
Well, for my signing, I have another defensive line piece in Eric Armstead. I was kind of sour on the Jags free agency, their moves that they were making, and then they went and got Eric Armstead, and I was like, okay, Eric Armstead's a beast, has been for a very long time, ever since the 49ers drafted him. He's kind of a tweener type, very tall for defensive tackle, can play 5 tech, can play 3 tech. He can play all around. He had an 82 PFF grade last season. Maybe it doesn't show up on the stats sheet all too much, but for a versatile piece that you can use all around, he's going to clog up gaps. He's going to make plays, get into the backfield. I like that. Adding more on that defensive line really gives some versatility. You can move Eric around now. You can move Trayvon around now. I like it a lot.
Yeah, like you said, Eric has always been a beast. He's just such a massive human being. He kind of reminds me of a Calais Campbell type of guy. He just disrupts things in the middle. And is very good about getting his hands up in the passing game when he doesn't get to the pocket. So him and Josh next to each other is definitely going to be wreck a lot of havoc for that AFC South for sure. For my draft, the Jags have the 17th pick. I got them taking, correct me if I'm wrong, is it Kenyon Mitchell?
Quinyon
Mitchell out of Toledo.
I watch a lot of mock drafts, so
I'm just terrible with names, I guess.
yeah.
He's 6 foot 195, which is good size for a corner. He ran a 4.33 at the combine, blazing fast, 18 PBUs. He's one of those guys that demands respect over there at the cornerback position, and I feel like that's very rare to say in college. He's a good tackler, plays the ball well in the air. He has a great recovery speed. He doesn't always win at the line of scrimmage. But his closeout is ridiculous. Plays through the wide receiver, looks back at the ball at the right time, and just gets his hands in there. So when you have a corner like that, especially with how Jacksonville's defense looks right now, they don't have a true corner one in my opinion. I think that's a guy that can go in there and that can start and make an impact immediately.
I was gonna correct you on that corner one thing, but then I can't even remember their number one corner's name. It's So that just shows how good he is.
Yeah.
What is his name? Tyson Campbell.
Yeah, I think he can go in there and take that job.
I would think so. A lot of people were down on Quinyon Mitchell because at Toledo they played just all like 10 yards off the line of scrimmage. All their corners just in these deep off-zone coverages. And so a lot of people were curious whether he could hold up man-to-man. And then he goes to the Senior Bowl and probably is the best player at the Senior Bowl in those one-on-ones.
Yep.
Against some of the nation's best wide receivers, locking down pretty much everyone. Like, that's what really shot him into the conversation of cornerback one in this class. Just showing that he looked good at Toledo, which is not great competition. Now you put him against real competition and he still looks that good. Yeah, he's going to be an issue.
Definitely. Without a doubt in my mind. I think he might, I don't want to say, I'll say it. I think he might come and have a sauce impact for that defense.
I could see it. And it's very similar because both are smaller schools, Cincinnati and Toledo.
Yep.
Obviously, Cincinnati's was competing the last couple years, but they haven't been a huge blue blood school or anything for a while.
Yeah.
And both of them are freak athletes. Both of them skyrocketed during that pre-draft process, and so I think Quinyon could definitely do something similar. And if they could get him at 17,
Hell of a pick.
I think a lot of fans would be happy.
I think so too.
Well, let's move on to the Titans. The Titans were one of those teams that just didn't re-sign a lot of players, which makes sense considering how bad they were. I'm letting those guys walk if they want their money, but I like them bringing back Nick Folk. This might be the only kicker we talk about on this RSD series, but
Probably.
he made 96.7% of his kicks, which I think was most in the league, if I'm not wrong.
All right.
But probably one of the most consistent Titans last year. So, not much more to add, but bringing in a good kicker, especially with how we've seen some of these teams have some pretty crappy ones. Cough, cough, the Cowboys. I like the Nick Folk re-sign.
Yeah, Nick Folk is also another one of those guys I look at and it's just like, yo, there's no way he passes the conditioning test every year.
Is he a big guy?
Yeah, he got a little gut on him. He don't look very athletic to me.
Oh. He looks like a teacher.
It's like he's at that body build where it's kind of like if your dad wants to play catch with you, it's just like you don't want to see him hurt himself, you know. It's just like, Pops, you're getting a little old, man. Let's take a seat, you know. Crack open a beer and watch some ball. But
yeah.
You need to be done.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, they didn't really have too many notable, you know, free agent signings. Not free agent signings, but re-signings. Can't knock a kicker that makes 97% of his kicks at all.
Yeah.
Going on
But
to
they
this,
did have some serious they had some serious signings.
yeah, I would say that's where we're going next. They got their corner one, and L'Jarius Sneed from the Chiefs. 4-year, $76.4 million deal. His receptions allowed dropped from 76 to 43 from 22 to 23 season. Had 14 PBUs last year, and ended the regular season with that punch out against Zay. He's proven himself. He's rose through the ranks. He got his money well deserved, and I think he will help that defense a lot over there in Tennessee, who to me has been having a pretty sneaky good offseason for sure.
I would say if this division wasn't so competitive, they might be competing for that division title. If they're in a crappier division, then I don't know. The roster's starting to shape out, especially if they can draft the guy that I think that they should draft at pick 7.
Talk to me.
Joe Alt out of Notre Dame. This has been one of those picks that's just been penciled in for I don't know how long. Everyone has the Titans taking Joe Alt, and it's for good reason. This dude is a blue chip talent. This dude is probably a top 3 player in this class. I don't think it's crazy to say that.
I don't think so either.
He's 6'7". He's absolutely massive. Great in both the run and the pass game. He's just everything you want out of a left tackle. Went to Notre Dame, which is offensive lineman U. He has such a high ceiling with his frame. He's ready to play right away. And for the Titans who desperately need help on the offensive line, if you could put Joe Alt and Peter Skoronski right next to each other, I would be upset if I was on that left side of the defensive line.
Yeah. He's league ready, man. Like, I don't want to harp on it too much. like you said, top 3 prospect in the class. I think it's Caleb, Marvin, and then him. The guy is going to go somewhere, start immediately. He's going to be a mauler immediately. I think he's going to be. You have a Tyler Linderbaum, Creed Humphrey, Panay Sewell. You know those young guys that come into the league from those offensive line schools. Oregon necessarily is an offensive line school, but just come in and have that immediate impact. Tristan Wirfs, and end up being a Pro Bowler or All-Pro within their first couple seasons. I think this is a path they'll go on. And any quarterback that can have him in front of him is going to be very lucky for 4 to 5 years minimum.
I think so. I was just thinking, I have a hot take. I might come to regret this down the road, but I think that the Tennessee Titans will finish with a better record than the Jags.
I agree.
You do?
I agree. I don't really think that's a hot take. I agree.
Really? I think if you said that to 90% of people, they would fight you on that.
I got the Jags finishing last in the division, honestly.
Wow.
To be honest with you.
Now, is it one of those divisions where everyone's finishing with like above 8 wins? Or you think they like fall off?
The Jags might have a top 6 pick.
What?
I think so.
What? You just don't believe in Trev or something?
I don't believe in that roster. I don't believe in the roster. I don't really believe in Trevor.
I don't really believe in Dougie P either.
Honestly.
Sorry.
I think obviously the Texans finished first, and then I think it's a toss-up between the Colts and the Titans for 2 and 3, and then the Jags finished last.
I mean, 2 and 3 is just who ends up being better out of Will Levis and Anthony Richardson, really.
That's all it really falls to.
And the cool thing is, both of them, like, in the limited time they got to play, really showed legit starter upside.
Yeah.
So I don't think the Titans are in a bad spot personally. Especially with the way they attacked this offseason. Sure, they threw a lot of money around, but on really good players. They completely reloaded this. I wouldn't say completely. That's a little bit too much, but you had Lloyd Cushenberry, you had Calvin Ridley, you had Tony Pollard, you had L'Jarius Sneed. Potentially, you can add Joe Alton to the mix. Like, you're getting Harold Landry back probably, who, I don't know if you know this, but Harold Landry is the highest cap hit on that team next year.
I did not know that.
Crazy,
I would have
right?
been Simmons.
I would have thought so too, but they gave Harold Landry a lot of money before he went and got himself hurt.
Wow. Learn something new every day.
But yeah, I think they're gonna be pretty good, honestly.
Yeah.
I got them at like
last year.
Last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's just been an injury-ridden player, but when he plays, he's been decent. So
I didn't know that.
I think I got them at I got them at like 9 wins, honestly.
Titans.
That might be too much. Maybe 8.
I would say maybe 8.
Maybe 8. 9's a lot.
I think.
Especially
Go ahead.
They probably get swept by the Texans. They probably split with the Colts and Jags.
That sounds about right. I'm thinking probably like 8 wins. 8 wins for the Titans. Maybe like 7 for the Colts. Maybe 8 for the Colts. I think very similar record between them two. And then I'm thinking the Jags will maybe like 5, 6.
Wow.
Texans with 10-win season, maybe 11, maybe 11-6.
I don't know, man. I just get the feeling it never works out that way though, but I get the feeling that the Texans could have like 13 wins.
It's up to Stroud.
It really is up to Stroud, but
It's up to the young buck.
it's not like Stroud played last year and you were like, Like this is his level of play is sustainable.
Yeah, it's just if he takes that next step. Like the way he played last season will get them to 10 wins. If he takes that next step, it'll get them to 13. You know.
No, I see what you're saying.
Especially with adding Diggs, like adding Mixon, he got some firepower around him.
Can you imagine being a Jags fan and finishing with 5 wins?
I would be upset, but I think they should be prepared for that reality.
With the golden prince that was promised?
Like, I don't see it over there, man. Honestly, I don't.
I think they've done a terrible job of putting a team together around Trevor.
They have that team. I can't even think of their wide receiver one right now. No, it's Kirk. Christian Kirk.
Kirk, yeah.
Christian Kirk, Gabe Davis, and Zay Jones. I don't believe in that group.
It's crazy because you swap Gabe Davis with Calvin Ridley, and like, I think that's pretty good, or at least it sounded good going into last season. But
yeah, like I can't even think of the last time I saw Gabe Davis play football.
yeah, I don't know. He's like a jag to me. You ever heard that term before?
Yeah, it makes sense. That fits Gabe Davis.
Just a guy. A jag.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Very fitting. Well, let's move on to that last team. You got them at 7 wins. I think I got them probably finishing above the Titans, honestly. I like the Colts a lot. I believe in AR.
I think they need some wide receiver help. I don't think
that's
it's
fair.
But we'll get into that. For my retain, Kenny Moore. It's probably one of the biggest names over there in Indianapolis. One of the better slot corners in the NFL. That kid loves to hit. He loves to come up in the run game. And it's very rare to see that out of corners, with that aggression and love, passion he plays for tackling. He had the 7th lowest yard per catch in 2023 with 9.3 yards per catch. Was a Pro Bowler in 2021. Had 2 pick sixes last year and had 93 tackles. 93 tackles from a DB is insane. Like I said, he loves to hit, he loves to play the run, and he's a great corner also. So, like, when you get that combo of a guy that loves to do both, you just always love to have that around. And he's a captain, so gotta love the re-signing for Indianapolis.
Yeah, Kenny has been and still is, I would say, top 3 slot corner in the NFL, if not the best. And for the slot is not a position to be knocked. Like, sure, he doesn't play outside corner, but it's very important. Especially as Ravens fans, we know how important that slot position is with Kyle Hamilton playing there.
Yep.
If you can have an elite slot corner, someone who can man up tight ends, someone who can man up those quicker guys, someone who can come downhill in the run game and hit, shed some blocks, I think that's a very valuable player. And to play him slot corner money is just, you're feeling good about that deal.
Yeah, like when you have a guy that can take a guy like Tyreek Hill out of the game for you and like shut down what a team like Miami loves to do and bring guys and crosses across the middle of the field. When you have somebody that can take that out of the game and now your whole offense is just, off kilter, like that can really change the game for an offense. Just one guy doing his job in the middle of the field, it just changes everything.
Kenny's been super slept on since he came into the league, but he's just been cruising at this rate of being one of the better slot corners in football.
Definitely.
Since he came out.
I love him. I wish he would have, wouldn't have re-signed and could have came to Baltimore. Like, that's what I was really hoping for that this offseason, but the Colts got a good one.
Yeah, the Colts really did just re-sign most of their players this offseason. Guys like Michael Pittman, Kenny Moore, Zaire Franklin, Grover Stewart, all re-signings, all very crucial players to this team's success. So they didn't really sign a lot of players from outside teams. But my signing was that I wanted to talk about was cool Joe Flacco, J5, my GOAT, my king. Probably the reason why I'm a Ravens fan. That's not true. Lamar's the reason why I'm a Ravens fan, but I love him to death. I think he's just going to be a great mentor to Anthony Richardson, kind of in the same way that he was to Lamar. Maybe you can't run the same offense with Joe that you would with AR, and you kind of have to shift what you're doing a little bit, but Joe showed that he can still come in and play pretty high-level football. And I think having someone that can just teach AR the ropes a little bit more than Gardner could is going to be crucial to his development. So, comeback player of the year, by the way.
Yeah, that boy better be looking out for his job, AR. Because Joe Cool is coming.
Spring chicken.
Can still get out the pocket. Don't really got too much to say on that one. Just love Joe Cool. And he'll be a serviceable backup for sure. So for me, I got the draft for the Colts. Colts have the 15th pick this year. I got them taking, is it Terrion? Terrion Arnold out of Alabama, cornerback. 6 foot, 189. Ran a 4.5 40. His first team AP All-American. 5 interceptions, 14 PBUs. The kid loves press man. Loves to get his hands on the wide receiver. He has great feet. Can move very well laterally. And he plays wide receivers well to the sideline. There's a lot of DBs who have a habit of not squeezing wide receivers to the sideline. And that's why wide receivers slip past him when they get beat. But he's very good with putting his body on the wide receiver and forcing him to the sideline to make it a more difficult catch. We can get a guy like that can come to the NFL, like that translates. Because wide receivers get off the ball so quickly in the NFL. Guys like Devontae Adams, you're not always going to win the rep. But if you can find a way to squeeze him to the sideline and make his job harder, you have a very high success rate, even if it's not, always 100.
He's not the best athlete at the position, but just so technically refined. If you go by and watch some film, it is like textbook on how to play the corner position, how to play the ball when it's in the air. And he just always seems to know exactly what to do for the situation. So I think that's a great pick for the Colts, who need secondary help for sure. I'm curious, though, you have Quinyon Mitchell getting taken 2 picks later. Who's your CB1? Is it Arnold?
Yeah, I'm going to go Arnold. I love Mitchell. I really do. But I think Arnold has just been in them high-pressure situations more. Playing, UGAs and your LSUs, Tennessee's, Texas. I think he's just seen the more league-ready competition, and that's why I got him as my corner 1.
That's definitely fair. I think it's definitely more clear-cut that Terrion's going to be a number 1 corner right away. But Quinyon, I think, has a little bit more upside, so I think it's just pick your poison there. You want the super freak athlete who you're not really sure if you're not 100% sure if they're going to be able to handle the jump in competition, or you want the guy who has been playing competition, technically sound but not as good of an athlete. So
yeah,
I think that the Colts would value Quinyon more, and the Jags would value Terrion more, just because I feel like Colts have just been drafting athletes. Like, they just draft the top RES score guys, those guys that have the 99th percentile for all those athletic ratings, despite how they play football. and I think that they run more of an off-zone thing, whereas I know the Jags play a lot of man, and I think that Terrian, excels in that. But honestly, I think they're both going to be great players, so I don't think either team would be unhappy with the choices that you have them making.
Yeah. Whatever it is, I think they just both need to go corner. Whoever it is, whatever.
Yeah.
It just has to be a cornerback, in my opinion.
They both need receivers too, though.
Yeah, it is. It's really tragic because that's where I really wanted to go for the Colts. I wanted to go wide receiver. Because it's Pittman, then it's Josh Downs, and then Alec Pierce. Josh Downs is a serviceable number 2. He had about 800 receiving yards last year. But I think they could use another guy for sure because after those 3, it's a very big drop-off, and the drop-off from 1 to 2 is also insane. So definitely
Yeah, I think they're just in that unfortunate range where, like, there's the 3 top guys, and then there's Brian Thomas somewhere in the middle there, and then those late first-round guys like your Keon Coleman's, your Texas receivers, Worthy and Mitchell. So it's just not the best for picking a receiver there, but corner is also a very big need. So
yeah, this is going to be that 2021 class in terms of wide receivers, like all those guys. I can't think of who was on the class, but I know Smitty and Olave. I think Wilson was also in that wide receiver class. Those wide receivers are going to fly off the board in the first round. So are the quarterbacks, so are the tackles. It's going to be a lot of the same positions hit on this year in the first round, I think.
I'm so excited for it.
Yeah, I am too. By the time we get to the second round, there may not be any wide receivers left at this point. Like, it's going to fly.
True. Well, that's going to conclude our episode. We're obviously super excited about the draft, but we're also excited for more of these RSD episodes that we got coming out. We already finished the NFC, and we're going to be finishing up the AFC before the draft. So keep up with us.